Okay, so our next topic for today is the triangle sum theorem. So, does anyone remember what that theorem said? Take a second and think about that, and pause and come on back. Alright, so if you guys remember what the triangle sum theorem, it says all the interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're actually going to prove that using some properties that we already learned. So first off, if we're writing a proof, we got to look at what's given and what we want to prove. So we're given that we have the triangle ABC, so we definitely do have that triangle here, ABC. And then we're also told that this line, CB, is parallel to AD. So that's the stuff we're given. So if you guys remember, I said if you see parallel lines, think of that property alternate interiors. So let's say we got this transversal here, AC. So that transversal right there. And if you look, wouldn't angle 1 be an alternate interior with angle 4 over that transversal? And if you continue to look, we also have another transversal here, AB, and that could be an alternate interior with angle 5. So there we have two pairs of alternate interior angles. And then angle 3, that's that angle that's in both this triangle, the blue triangle ABC, but it's also in this big straight angle here, right there. So if you look at that straight angle, we know a straight angle is 180 degrees. So if 4, 3, and 5 make 180 degrees, then wouldn't 1, 2, and 3 also have to make 180 degrees because 4 and 1 are the same and 5 and 2 are the same? Alright, hopefully that made some sense to you guys. Let's take a look at how we can actually write this into a proof. So remember, in a proof you always start with your statement and your reason. Let's get that down, statement and reason. So now, as we write our proof, let's first always start our proof off with what we're given. So we're going to say triangle ABC and AD is parallel to CB. So that was our given. So based off that given, before we go any further, let's talk about this angle here that we said is a straight angle. So we can say that the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 5 is equal to 180 degrees. And that reason there is because a straight angle adds up to 180, so all three of those angles create that straight angle. So we're going to just say the definition of a straight angle. Okay, so that part's done. So now that we know those three add up to 180, what we want to show is that 1, 2, and 3 add up to 180. So what we're going to do here is we are going to then look at, well, we have those parallel lines, so let's talk about how 1 and 4 relate and how 2 and 5 relate. So we can say angle 1 is congruent to angle 4 by alternate interior angles. And then we can also say that angle 2 is congruent to angle 5 by that same reason, alternate interior angles. So if I know the angles are congruent, what I can then say is that their measures are equal. So I can say the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 4, and the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 5. And this is simply because if they're congruent, they're equal, so the definition of congruence. So now that I know these angles here, angle 2 and angle 5, are congruent, and angle 1 and angle 4 are equal, what I can then do is I can take these values and I can substitute 1 in for 4 and 2 in for 5. So what I can say here now is that the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 is equal to that 180 degrees. And all I really did was I substituted those values in for what they equaled. So my reason here is simply just substitution. And so now I've successfully shown what I wanted to prove. Those three angles add up to 180. So this is just a nice simple basic proof of the triangle sum theorem. Okay, so we've officially proven that now. So what I want you guys to do is now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a corollary to this theorem. And what a corollary is it's basically something that adds on to the theorem that you were given. So the triangle sum theorem originally said all three angles add up to 180. This theorem states that if we have a right triangle, then the two acute angles, in this case A and B, those are going to add up to 90 degrees. So think about that. If angle C is a right angle, that means it's 90 degrees. So how many degrees are left to give you the sum of A and B? Well, if you think about it, 180 minus that angle C, which is 90, all we have left is 90 degrees. So it makes sense that A and B would add up to 90 degrees. So take a second. You might see this picture on your notes cut out. Go ahead and get that picture cut out. Pause the video to get that cut out, glued into your notebook, and then we'll take a look at those examples below it. So go ahead and pause now. Okay, so hopefully you had enough time to get that cut out. And let's take a look at how we could solve a problem like this. I'm going to do letter A with you guys, and then give you some time to do B through D. So letter A says the measure of angle A is 27 and angle B is what? So we look, we know that it's a right triangle and that A and B are the acute angles. So that means, based off that corollary, the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle B should be 90 degrees. So all we need to do to find B is to take 90 minus our measure of angle A, 27. And we should get here 63. So that means angle B is equal to 63 degrees. And that's all we need to do for each of those. So why don't you guys give B, C, and D a try. Go ahead and pause the video, and then we'll come back with the answers. Okay, so there are the answers to each of those. Hopefully you guys got those. If you have any questions, just remember, with these, based off of that corollary, all you need to do is take 90 minus the measure of angle A, and you should get your answer each time. Okay, so that finishes up our topic on triangle sum theorem. What we're going to do now is we're going to transition to the next video, and in that video we're going to talk about something called the exterior angle theorem.